Hello again, gamers. Welcome back to the Board Game Captain. I'm the Captain.
I'm Lynn.
And today we're going to be reviewing and talking about and showing you how to play Raiders of Scythia. So, to start with, I want to give a big thank you to the company Renegade Games, who sent us this review copy of Raiders of Scythia to be able to play and check out and review. Big thank you, Renegade Games. And I want to say that I've got a ton of links in the description down below that you can check out at your leisure. There's a link to BoardGameCaptain.com, which is a great hub for all things Board Game Captain. And Lynn and I have started doing some semi-regular blog posts over there. There's also a link to my Patreon if you're in a position to and would like to support the channel. And there's a link to my Teespring store where you can get yourself some cool Board Game Captain merch, t-shirts, mugs, etc. Okay, so Raiders of Scythia is designed by Shem Phillips. And it is a bit of a spiritual sequel to Raiders of the North Sea, if you've ever played that. There's a lot of similar mechanics in this to Raiders of the North Sea. We have played that. So this is a worker placement game.
Yes.
Plus
rating.
Plus rating. Yeah, because there's some dice rolling and there's some other stuff going on. So it is for 1 to 4 players for ages 12 and up and listed as a 60-minute game. So let's start there. So now the 1 to 4 players. Now, we haven't tried the solo version, but this has a really good and easy way to scale for the different player counts based on just having more spaces available for rating. I think that's a pretty good way to do it.
Yeah, it's pretty simple and effective way to scale it.
And it works so well that I actually quite love this game at 2 players. We'll get to that. I know I'm spoiling a bit that this is going to be positive, but it plays really well at 2 players. Like, you and I just play 2 players, and usually a lot of worker placement games, you like, the more the merrier, you want more people. But in this, it's like, 2 players is fine. This is absolutely great at 2 players. Would you agree to that?
Yes.
Okay. So now ages 12 and up, I think that might be spot on.
Yes.
Because, like, there's enough meat in here that I don't think I would want to teach someone like 9 years or younger. And a 10-year-old might be able to get it, or an 11-year-old if they're pretty advanced for their age, but an average 12-year-old, you're probably pretty good. You think? So, no disagreement either?
Nope. Now,
the 60 minutes, I feel there should be a range here because it can differ depending on the number of players.
Yeah.
But 60 minutes is probably a good estimate for...
Probably an average.
For, like, maybe 2 to 3 players. You're probably going to come in under an hour, especially if you get fast. And then, you know what? At 4 players, if you've played a few games, you can probably get under that. Because actually, this is one of those games, once you've played it a couple times, you get really quick with it. But yeah, so it's not a terrible estimate. I just prefer a range. So again, why don't we open this up and show what comes in the box?
Okay.
All right. So it's a fairly small box. It's smaller than the normal square size. But they packed quite a bit in here. So there's no insert. So you can pack it all in super tight. You've got a nice cloth bag. This is for the blind drawing at the beginning of the game, which is very useful. Why don't you pull some stuff out there? We've got some custom dice. Now, the custom dice are lovely. You've got red, yellow, and white custom dice. The red one has numbers on it, and also there's some faces that have little blood drops. Those are for wounds. The yellow one has one blank side and then a bunch of sides with blood drops. And the white one, again, has numbers and blood drops. And it's kind of somewhere in between where it's got way more blood drops than the red one, but also numbers, unlike the yellow one. So it's kind of somewhere in the middle. And these are, red is the easiest die. Yellow is the worst die for you, kind of thing. And white is somewhere in the middle. Why don't you show some of the components there? What you got?
Kumis.
So the kumis are little cups of fermented milk, which actually is real. We looked it up. This is a thing that has been drunk in the Near East and Middle East, going back into ancient times. That was what the drink was called. It was called kumis.
Yeah. And then these are provisions which you need to go on raids.
And they're supposed to be like little pots of food.
Yeah.
Now we've got some cards here. I want to show some of these. These are gorgeous. So the animal cards have both an eagle and a horse on it. And the other side shows an eagle and a horse on the back. And then we've got, these are the crew cards, which then you have the crew on the front. These are really cool. The artwork in this is really good. I like the artwork style a lot in this. And we have hero cards, which are very similar in their appearance to the crew cards in that they have a person on it, and then all of the symbology you will need for that hero.
And then we have little wound tokens for when your dudes get wounded.
We have a ton of little meeples, though they're not in the typical meeple shape. They look more like Scythians in various colors for the worker placement. We have red, silver, and blue, and they're all chunky wooden meeples. And then we have little eagles to be used as scoring tokens in 4 different colors for the different players.
And then there's little shapes that are just
hexagons.
They're hexagons that are livestock, tools, gold, and wagons.
Depending on the color. And the color, there's a quick reference on your player board, so you don't actually have to remember them, because the symbols will show you what they are. We have little cardboard punch-out tiles here. They have the Raiders of Scythia logo on the back, and on the front, these are your quests. They show you what you need to complete the quest and how many victory points they're worth on the front. Very easy to read.
Little coins with Medusa's head on them.
Those are for the silver.
Yeah.
We have the personal player boards here, which each one has the color of the player, and it has a space for your hero, and then spaces for your crew, and then the cheat sheet for all the different types of loot, the different hexagonal pieces, as well as reminding you that you can have a maximum number of 8 silver, kumis, provisions, or cards. These are quite functional and quite nice. I like the artwork style a lot. Why don't you pull out the main board while I'm talking about the book. Now, the rule book is a total of, and it seems like it's a lot, it's like a total of about 20 pages. However, a good portion of that is for the solo play. So if you're not going to be playing solo, don't find it that intimidating, because it actually really only goes up to page 15 for the regular rules. It is a full color rule book, tons of illustrations and diagrams, full explanation of everything. I didn't really, there was one thing that I got wrong the first time we played, but it was my fault. It wasn't the rules' fault. So the rules are fine. The rules are really well done. I quite like this rule book. Yeah, big thumbs up for me on the rule book. And the board. This board is gorgeous. And it's a little different. This is one of the areas that's more different than Raiders of the North Sea, in that Raiders of the North Sea was much more freeform. You just had spaces all over the place. Here they actually separate them out. Then point out the different areas there.
Okay, so here's your little town,
your village
where you live, and then you have the different areas to raid: Samaria, Assyria, Persia, and Greece.
And so each one is progressively harder than the last. You'll see that while we're showing you how to play. But yeah, so that is everything that comes in the box. Now we're going to head over to the table, and we're going to run you through a number of rounds to show you generally how you play a game of Raiders of Scythia. And then when we're done, we're going to come back and we're going to talk about how this game plays and how it feels, and we're going to rate it and review it. Okay, so here we are set up to play a game of Raiders of Scythia at 2 players. I'll be playing on this side of the table, and for keeping track of the score, I am using the purple little eagle over here.
I'm over on this side, and I'm going to be the blue eagle.
So to set up the game, and we have left the final bit of setup to show on camera because it is important, but to set up the game, you got to place the board out on the table. You have to shuffle up the quest face up in the Scythian village, and the rest face down in the various raid spots you are going to be using throughout the game. There are no raid spots that take quests in Greece. But they are in the other areas, and as you see, we have 2 empty spots on the end of every area, and that's because those are for 3 players and 4 players, respectively. Then we have to remove the rest of the quests because they are not used. We have to place a number of plunder tokens, either gray, black, gold, or brown, on the various spaces, and they're done randomly because we shuffle them up in the bag and do random draws for each. They all have a number shown above their space that tell you how many you have to randomly draw, and they each represent different things. The gold ones represent gold, the gray ones represent tools, the brown ones represent wagons, and the black ones represent livestock. Moving on, the next thing you have to do is dump out all of those, what is left over of those, into a supply, and then create the supplies of the wounds, the silver, the kumis, and the provisions. You also have to place the dice next to the board. Then you have to place one appropriately colored meeple, again shown in symbols above the particular raid space, above each raid space. They are all either gray or red meeples, and you have to place one blue meeple each in the spaces in the village, the 3 bottom right spaces of all of the spaces available in the Scythian village. Then each player can take a player board with the color shown that they want to use and take the same color eagle to place on the 0 point space on the score track. Each one gets 1 blue worker and 1 provision and 3 silver pieces, which we have already done. Then we have to shuffle up the deck of heroes, the deck of crew members, and the deck of animals. And for the deck of animals, you deal 3 out, and this is going to be the draw, the market for animals that you will have available for the whole game. However, the deck of heroes, you deal up a number equal to the number of players plus 1, and then you remove the rest of the cards. And then for the deck of crew members, you deal out 1 crew member with each hero. And then we decide who's going to be first player, and we go in reverse turn order, choosing our hero for this game and our starting crew member for this game. After doing that, we're going to draw a hand of crew members to keep as our hand for the game. For the hand of crew members, each player is dealt a hand of 5 crew cards, and then you choose 3 to keep as your hand, discard the other 2. Discarded crew cards along with the leftover crew card make up the starting discard pile, which is placed next to the crew deck next to the board. The remaining hero card that was not chosen is removed from the game because everyone only gets 1 hero, and that is who you are playing for the whole game. Now we're going to show that because I do think it is an important part of the setup. So we've already had a look at the abilities for the possible heroes and their 1 free crew card you're going to get along with them. I have picked which ones I want, and the reason I've picked which ones I want first is because Lynn is going to be our starting player. So Lynn, would you hand me the ones in the middle there? So we randomly dealt these up, and I am choosing Gatekeeper and Katari. Now, Katari, she is going to be my hero. I think Katari is a great hero, especially early game. Her ability, which can be triggered by specifically taking the ability at the town center, is that she can remove up to 3 wounds from your crew or gain 3 silver. And that is a really powerful ability. I like it a lot. And also, Gatekeeper is no slouch either. They're a really good crew member. So to start with, they have 2 strength, which is not bad. But their abilities are really good. They have an ability that says gain 1 card after taking a meeting tent action, which gaining an extra card to your hand is really good. And then they have an ability if they have an eagle that they can activate at the town square, which says gain 3 cards. So they have 2 great abilities for being able to draw cards. I like that a lot. I'm going to immediately place her in my crew. So Lynn, which ones are you going to take?
I'm going to choose Charope. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it.
Just hold it out in the middle here. So yeah.
Her eagle action is she can take 2 town center actions.
Which very early is not going to be good until she gets a couple of guys with eagles, but once she does, that's going to be really awesome.
And then the other dude is just a mercenary who's probably going to die pretty quickly since I get a victory point when he does.
What is his strength, though?
4.
Oh, well, he's got a high strength, though. He's got double the strength of my crew member. So actually, he'll be useful until he dies, and then if he dies, he'll get you... What is the ability he gets if he dies?
Gain 1 victory point if killed in a raid.
Oh, so actually, yeah, you are kind of incentivized to kill him, though his high strength may keep him alive. So get rid of the extra hero, and we will place the leftover card there next to the deck. Now, deal us each 5 cards so we can choose our starting hands and discard the rest. Okay, so we've picked our starting hand of 3 cards, and we're going to discard the other 2 cards to the discard pile there, and then we are ready to play. Now, it is Lynn's turn, and on Lynn's turn, she is going to get to decide whether she wants to work or raid. So now, if she decides to work, she gets to place her current worker she has somewhere in an open spot in the village. Then she gets to take the action of that spot like a normal worker placement, but a little bit of a twist, she then gets to retrieve a different worker from the village and also take the ability of that space. Now, on the other hand, once she has enough crew members to raid, which all of the raiding spots show you what they require. They first require certain colored meeples to put on their spaces. Then they have a number that shows how many workers, how many crew members you have to be able to raid this spot, and then they have resources you have to spend. If she could do that, she could place a worker here instead, raid the spot, and we'll show how that works when we get up to someone doing a raid. But the short version is, if you're successful, you're going to get a bunch of rewards, including the loot here. You're going to flip over another quest that people can complete, and you're going to get a meeple back from the particular spot. So now to start with, usually the first few turns are all work spots rather than raid, because it takes you a little while to build up enough crew members to be able to go on raids. So Lynn, have you decided what you're going to do for your first turn?
Yes. I'm going to go to
the barracks. Okay, so you're going to immediately play a crew member out then, eh?
Yes. I'm going to spend 3 silver to play gatekeeper.
So now when you go to the barracks, you have 2 choices you can do. You can either play a crew card out into your crew, or you can trade in a kumis, which is one of the resources, to heal 2 wounds on one of your crew. Now, in this case, we don't have any wounds yet because no one's gone raiding yet, and Lynn chose to play out a character. Now, they all have a cost. Lynn, show your character to the camera there. They all have a cost on the left side in silver, and Lynn just paid that to get the character out. Now, what is their strength there in the top left corner?
2.
Okay, and what is their main ability?
Gain 1 card after taking a meeting tent action.
Oh, so they have the same ability that my gatekeeper. Is that a gatekeeper?
Yes.
Oh, yes. So that's the same character I already have. Yeah, they're a good one. I like them a lot. So now Lynn has 2 characters, but neither one of them has their time square actions active yet for her hero's ability. She'll have to get some eagles for them to activate those. Okay, so which is going to be your second action? Which meeple will you retrieve?
The meeting tent.
Oh, okay. So that one allows you to either draw 2 cards to your hand or take 1 card and 2 kumis. I think I know which one you're going to do.
I'm going to do the 2 cards, and because I have her, it's going to be 3.
Ah. Okay. Wow, you're going to have a lot of options. Now, your max hand size is 8 cards, and your max size of silver, kumis, and provisions is all 8. When it comes to the hexagonal loot that you can get, there is no max amount except for what is actually available physically. For my first action, I'm going to play at the meeting tent. I'm going to choose the 1 card and the 2 kumis, and the reason I'm doing it that way is, 1, I would like some kumis, but also I also have a gatekeeper, just like Lynn just got out, which means I get an extra card anyway. So Lynn, would you pass me 2 cards and 2 kumis? I love that gatekeeper action. It's a really good ability. For my second action, I'm going to pick up the meeple from the town center, and I'm going to take the ability from my leader, Kitari, who has the ability to either remove 3 wounds or gain 3 silver. I am going to gain 3 silver, and then it is Lynn's turn.
I'm going to go to town center.
Okay.
And I'm going to play a card from my hand, their special ability.
So now the town center has 3 possible abilities you can do. You can do the ability on your hero card. You can do the ability on one of your crew cards if they have an eagle that shows the little same symbol that's on your hero card and a little arrow pointing down. They have an eagle ability on each hero, but none of us have that yet. And the third possible thing you can do is play a card from your hand to do their eagle ability once and then discard it. So what is the ability there?
Gain 2 provisions.
Oh, that's a good one. Provisions are very necessary for raiding. A lot of the raiding spots require you to spend provisions, so they're very important for when you're getting ready to go raiding, which of course we are trying to do.
And then I'm going to take the market, and I'm going to discard 1 card for 2 silver.
Oh, very nice. I will pass you 2 silver. Here you are. For my first action, I'm going to go to the farm, which the farm, if you place a blue or silver meeple there, you can get 2 provisions. 2 provisions, please. Now, if on the other hand, you had gotten a red meeple, which you have to do some raiding much further on in the game to get a red meeple, but if you do place a red meeple there or remove a red meeple from there, you can get either 3 provisions or you can actually get a wagon, which is the brown hexagonal piece. For my second action, I'm going to remove the meeple from the barracks because I would also like to get another one of my crew out. I'm going to spend 3 silver to hire a warmonger. Now, the warmonger has 3 strength, which is pretty decent. He's better than my gatekeeper there. And he has the regular ability that he gains +1 victory point when raiding Simra, which Simra is the first area. So that is really good. And then also he has the eagle ability, if he gets an eagle, to be able to gain 1 livestock, which is the black hexagonal piece. So that is really good. And that will be it for me.
Going to go to the silversmith and get 3 silver.
Okay, I will pass you your 3 silver.
You know what? Yeah.
Here you go.
Sorry. I was getting ahead of myself.
Okay. This game gets you excited. You tend to get ahead of yourself. I've noticed that. It's all the planning.
Okay, I'm going to go to the farm and get 2 provisions.
Very good. All finished?
Yep.
Okay. For my turn, I'm going to go on my first raid. I'm going to go to one of the raids in Cimmeria. Now, this space here requires me to have 2 crew members. I do have 2 crew members. It requires me to spend 3 provisions. I have precisely 3 provisions, which I'm going to spend back to the bank. Then, I have to place either a blue or a silver worker in one of the spaces there. Of course, I only have a blue worker, and that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to place there, and then I have to roll dice based on, first, the symbol over here on the side of Cimmeria, which is 1 red die, and then if any of the spots here have gold in them, you have to add a yellow die for each of the possible raiding locations in that area that has gold. I have 1 raiding area that has gold, so I'll have to add a yellow die to the red die. We'll see how this goes. All right, so I'm going to roll 1 red die and 1 yellow die. So let's see how we do. I got a 4 and 2 wounds. So my strength is going to be very high. Now, the only possible strengths here are 2 or less or 4 or less. The 4 already fills that up, but I've also got a 3 strength crew member and a 2 strength crew member. I'm way over the max that I need. That's great. But I do have to take a couple of wounds. So I'm going to take the 2 wounds on my warmonger because he can take it. He has 3 strength. Every wound he takes reduces his strength by 1. When he takes 3 wounds, he'll be at 0 strength but still alive. If he takes an extra wound after that, he gets killed. He gets discarded and all the wounds go back in the bank. Though, between raids, if he hasn't been killed, of course, there is the ability to heal him. So we're going to get to that in a minute because back on my next turn, I will probably be healing him. But now that I have completed the raid, I get all of the plunder from that space, so I'm going to choose the space with the gold. Now, this will make it easier for Lynn to raid the other one because she wouldn't have to pick a yellow die, and those yellow dies are kind of rough. They're full of wounds. Then I will flip up the quest. This becomes a new quest that people can do. This one is worth 6 victory points and requires you to trade in 1 gold and 1 tool. And I get the silver meeple, which is the most important thing from here, because now the silver meeple enters the game, which means I will have access to more areas in the town that I can go to that I couldn't go to before, and it will mean I have access to some more possible raiding spaces. So that is all very important. But that is going to be it for my turn.
I would like to raid as well.
Oh, gonna go for the easy one now?
Yes.
Oh, it's understandable.
So it's 3 provisions.
Indeed it is.
And I roll just the 1.
Just the red die. Yeah, you don't have to roll the gold die at all, which is very nice. Oh, you got the highest amount. Oh, I forgot to mention, I do get a victory point for rolling the highest amount there, and I did not give myself the victory point, but now that I've noticed, and Lynn has done it as well, I will also give her the victory point. So now, Lynn, obviously take your loot there and your new meeple, and we will flip up what the new quest is. So the new quest requires you to discard cards that have a combined strength equal to 4. So you could discard 1 4 or a 2 and 2 1s or whatever it might be to get this. And these are all worth victory points shown again on the top right of their corner there. So now it's going to be coming back to me here, and I am going to do a work action because I do want to get rid of the wounds that I have on my card here. So for my first action, I'm going to place my new silver meeple on the stables because now the stables are available to me and I would like to buy a livestock. Now, to buy an animal, you can either spend 2 silver to get an eagle, or you could spend 1 tool to get a horse. I do not have any tools, so I will, of course, be buying an eagle. Now, that is 2 silver. I'm going to put the 2 silver back in the bank. Now, there are 3 eagles to choose from. The 2 here have the little tower symbol on them, which is the same one that appears on your hero because they activate the eagle abilities that you can now use when you go to the town center if you give that eagle to a particular crew member. The third eagle instead just gives the crew member +1 strength and it counts as a victory point at the end of the game. But I would really like to activate some of my abilities here. So I'm going to take one of the eagles that allows me to activate a crew ability, and I'm going to take it for my gatekeeper because her crew ability allows her to draw 3 cards if I use her ability when I go to the town center, and that is a really cool ability. Then I'm going to replace the card I recruited out there in the draw. And now for my second action, what I'm going to do is I am going to take back the meeple from the town center. I'm not going to be using my brand new ability, though. I'm going to be using my hero's ability to remove up to 3 wounds from one of my characters. I'm going to get rid of all the wounds that I took on my warmonger, so I am totally ready to raid again. And that is going to be it for my turn. I'm
going to play on the barracks. I'm going to spend 3 silver.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
To recruit the brute.
The brute? What does the brute do?
He gains 1 kumis if wounded in a raid, and his eagle action is gain 3 kumis and 1 card.
Now, kumis are great. They are useful. You can spend them at the beginning of a raid before you roll to give you +1 strength in that raid, but also they are useful in certain town actions where you can spend them to do certain things depending.
And then I'm going to take the one from the stables and pay 2 silver for an eagle. The eagle with the...
The ability?
Yes.
Yeah, of course you want to build up your abilities. So whose ability are you going to free up?
I think the gatekeeper, so I can get 3 cards.
Well, it's understandable. She is a really, really good ability. I'm going to go to the farm, and I'm going to get 2 provisions. Would you pass me a couple provisions, please? And then for my second action, I'm going to retrieve this meeple here from the silversmith to get 3 silver. And then that will be it for my turn.
I'm going to raid.
Oh. So that one requires you to spend 2 provisions for that raid, and it requires you to have had 2 crew members, which you have 3, so you're all good. And you're required to roll 1 red because it's Samaria and 1 yellow die because there is a gold in one of those spaces. So you got a 5. That is there's no way you don't have 6 strength. You got to have way more.
I have 10 right with my...
All right, so you're going to get
15,
the max.
15 total.
So you're going to get 1 victory point and no extra wounds, but you do get 2 wounds from your yellow die roll. So let me give you the 2 wounds from that. Here you go.
I'm going to put one of these on the brute because he gains 1 kumis if he's wounded in a raid.
Well, that's understandable. You can put the other one on the brute too, or?
Well, he can...
Because that way it makes it easier to heal when you're back in town, because usually the heals can only happen from 1 guy at a time. How many strength does he have normally?
He's got 4.
So he can hold it.
Yeah, but the mercenary, I get a victory point if he dies.
Well, are you trying to kill him right now? Or he's also like your strongest guy.
No, I can't. They're both 4. They're both my strongest.
So you're
I'm thinking just put another one on him and eventually he'll die.
That is true, but also keep in mind that every wound he has does reduce his strength.
That's true. Okay, I'll put it on there. Okay, so then I'm gonna take...
I'm guessing the gold one, no?
Yeah. This one...
Yeah, the gold makes it tougher, but it also is more valuable. So there is that. Oh, so that is an easy one to get there. It just requires a tool and a livestock. So that's not too tough. Okay, so my turn?
Yes.
I'm also going to do another raid. So we are going to finish out the raids in Samaria here. Again, I still only have my 2 crew members, but that is enough for this raid. And now, of course, I will not have to roll the yellow die there because Lynn got rid of the gold, so it's going to make it a little easier on me. I do, of course, have to give in 2 provisions for this particular raid space. So let me give those to Lynn there. And I've just got to roll the 1 red die. Now, the red die came up a 3, which is very nice, along with my 5 strength already. That is plenty to get well above that 6, which is, no problem at all. Which means I will also get a victory point over there. I will collect the loot from the other raid space, and I will also collect the silver meeple from that raid space, and I will flip face up another quest from that area. Now, the meeples we leave behind in these raid spaces, by the way, stay there for the rest of the game. So a lot of times you were trading in lower level meeples to add in the higher level meeples to the game, which then can be used in more spaces, especially in the town where there's some areas that can only be used with silver or red. But that is it for my turn.
I'm going to go to the chief's tent.
I'm guessing you're going for a quest, huh?
Yeah, I'm going...
So now, let me just explain. The chief's tent has two possible actions. You could either trade in a livestock to get 2 provisions and a kumis, or you can achieve one of the quest tiles. So which quest tile are you going for?
I'm going to do this one.
Whoa, that's one of the more valuable
2
ones. 2
tools and a wagon.
There we go. So that is worth 6. Very, very, very valuable. Well done.
And then I'm going to take this guy to get 2 provisions.
Oh, get ready already for another raid, huh? I'm going to go back to the stables here, and I'm going to trade in another 2 silver to pick up an eagle. This time I'm going to pick up one of the eagles that gives +1 strength and is worth a victory point at the end of the game. And I'm going to give it to my other of my 2 crew members here to give him +1 strength, which is really nice. And then for my second action, I also am going to complete a quest. So I'm going to pull this the meeple back from the chief's tent to complete one of the quests. And I am going to complete this quest here for 2 livestock and 1 wagon, which is worth 4 victory points at the end of the game. Not quite as impressive as Lynn's, but there you go. And that is how you play a game of Raiders of Scythia. You keep doing the worker placement, you keep doing the raids, you keep pressing along and gaining resources towards the end of the game. You gain victory points from raids that go very well all the way down through Greece, and you play until one player has only 2 raid spaces left on the board at the end of their turn, or only 2 quests left on the board at the end of their turn. Once this happens, every player takes 1 more turn, including themselves, them taking the final turn. And you count up the victory points to see who has won. So, of course, you have the victory points you get during the game, but then you have victory points you get for certain cards. Some crew members and animal cards, like horses and eagles, will give you victory points at the end of the game. In addition, every gold you have collected is worth 2 victory points at the end of the game. Every tool and wagon is worth 1 victory point each, and every pair of livestock, every 2 livestock, is worth 1 victory point at the end of the game. If after counting up the victory points at the end of the game, there are a couple of tiebreakers if 2 or more players are tied. The first tiebreaker is the player with the most combined quests, crew, and animals. And if there's still a tie, the second tiebreaker is the player with the most silver, provisions, and kumis. Now, if there is still a tie after that, you have to share victory. But that's it. That is how you play the game of Raiders of Scythia. So there you have it. So now we're going to head back over. We're going to talk about how this game plays and feels, and we're going to rate it and review it. Okay, so that was how you play a game of Raiders of Scythia, and we were able to cover just about everything. The one thing we didn't do is we didn't really use the kumis for much of anything, but we talked about how like there's certain things where it's a cost, or also you can spend it before you roll in a raid to boost your strength for 1 point per kumis.
It's more helpful for the more difficult places to raid, because I mean
we only got to raid in Samaria.
Yeah, so it's not that difficult to get enough to easily raid Samaria.
Yeah, you can raid Samaria, as you saw within the first few rounds. You're already raiding Samaria. The higher level areas all the way up to Greece get really difficult.
Yeah, it's almost impossible, because I don't think there's
Greece is tough.
There's not dudes with higher than a 4, I think.
But there
even if you have like all 4s, it's still impossible to get the number you need.
Well, there are dudes who give pluses for certain areas, and there's a guy who gives like +3 strength for raiding Greece. Like getting him is a huge boost, and then of course spending a bunch of kumis is a huge boost, and then also having the horses that give you the plus to strength and the eagles that give you the plus to strength. That's what you need. Like when you want to raid Greece, you want to not just have strong guys. You want to have strong guys that are good at raiding Greece, that have eagles that give them extra strength, that have horses that give them extra strength, and have a stockpile of kumis that you built up that you can just be like, yeah, I'm going to spend 5 kumis and get +5 strength, because once you get down there, it gets so much harder that you do need it. That said, let's talk about. So you've seen kind of how the game plays. Let's start with the negatives so we can end on the positives. Now, obviously, we're going to be pretty positive on this. We've been liking this game a lot, and it should be pretty easy to tell. But, of course, let's start with, do you have any negatives to talk about with Raiders of Scythia?
I can't think of any.
Yeah, it's a little tough. I've got one. It's kind of grasping at straws. Now, this is a worker placement game, and generally speaking, worker placement games are kind of like complete information, and this is not. In regard to the fact that there is some randomness, you do have some dice rolls. So that might be a negative for some people. I don't find it a negative. I actually like the injection of randomness into this. And that's the thing. That would be a positive for some people. So it's a very much situational thing. If you like a little more dice rolling in your game and are turned off by worker placements because there's not enough dice, because generally speaking, I can't even think of another worker placement that even has dice rolling.
There's usually no dice.
Yeah, there's usually no dice. So if you like some dice rolling, this might be the worker placement for you. If you, on the other hand, you're someone who's just into Euro games with no dice rolling whatsoever, that might be an issue for you. So I don't really find that a negative, but I could see how some people might. Mm-hmm. That said, I don't really have any glaring negatives. What do you think? And you
no.
Yeah, I was gonna say you said you didn't think of it. All right, positives. Go ahead.
I like that. I like Euro games,
mm-hmm.
but I also like. Okay, so I like that it's an aggro Euro.
Okay.
But you're not aggro with the other players.
You're fighting against the board.
Yes.
So you like that there's combat, but it's not against another person.
Yes.
Okay, so it's the play style then. The play style is really speaking to you.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to say first off, I like the different take on worker placement. I like the whole thing where it's not just you play one, but then you also get to remove one. And because of the raiding, where when you slowly raid, you will get the higher level meeples, first the silver, then the red, that when you're playing one, you're going to be placing one of those into the town, adding them to the stock of meeples that you were cycling through, you and the other players in the town. Even if another player hasn't raided yet, mm-hmm. if there's a silver meeple in the town, they can be like, well, I'm going to pick that one up and take that action. Which starts to change the dynamics of the game, especially since in the main town, there's areas you can't even access until you start getting silver meeples. And that's really cool. I dig that a lot. Your turn.
I like that they limit how many items you can have. Because mm-hmm. then it keeps one person from like hoarding all the provisions and keeping everybody else from going on raids. And it also makes you have to go on raids because you're like, oh, I can't do anything that gets me more provisions because then I'll be over the limit.
Right.
I need to go on a raid and get rid of some provisions.
Yes, that is really cool.
It forces you to make the game move forward
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
while also keeping like those players that just like to hoard everything just to screw over everyone else in check.
So I want to talk about the animals for a minute because the animals are something that were not in Raiders of the North Sea. And I love the animals. The eagles and the horses are great. I love how either one, you could get ones that can just give you points at the end of the game or give you strength or both. You can also get ones that, with the eagles, in the case of the eagles, that unlock abilities that are already on your cards. You're like, oh, I have this ability, but I can't use it till I get an eagle that has the ability to unlock that. And I think that's a lot of fun. That's really cool. Yeah, I'm a big fan of using the eagles and the horses to augment the stats and abilities of your crew members. I think that's great.
I think I just like the combination of worker placement and dice rolling because I really enjoy putting things in little boxes and getting stuff. And I also really enjoy rolling dice. You do?
Like
and this has both.
It really... I'm thinking this is going to be incredibly highly rated by you. Maybe you should go second on the rating. I'm trying to think... Okay, so I also really like... This game has a ludicrous amount of replayability. And the reason is you have this deck of a bunch of heroes. And you deal out a number of them that you're going to draft from, but they're different every time. Mm-hmm. And then you have a deck of a whole bunch of quests. And you deal out random quests, but they're different every time. And then you have a bag of a bunch of different loot, and you deal out randomly the loot, and they're different every time. So it changes the values of the different spaces. It changes the quest that can get you points. It changes the hero you have to work with every game, and I think that's great. Like this is infinitely replayable, in my opinion. What are your thoughts on that, by the way? On this being?
Yeah.
You agree?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
I don't think so.
Did we basically cover just about everything? I'm trying to think if there's anything else we'd love to talk about. If you can't tell, we're really digging Raiders of Scythia. We have played Raiders of the North Sea before, and we really liked it. Raiders of Scythia is better. This is like everything that the designer did with Raiders of the North Sea. I guess they looked at it and they're like, here's where I can improve it, and they put all that into Raiders of Scythia. This is an absolutely fantastic game. I'm going to go first because this game is so right up your alley. I have a feeling you're going to be really high on this one. So I'm going to go first, but I'm also going to be really high on this one. I just think Lynn might be a little bit higher. But this is up there, definitely in like the top of my favorite worker placement games. This is I think this has got to be in my top 3 worker placement games. That's how much I like this. This game is absolutely fantastic. I'm going to go 8.5 stars out of 10. Raiders of Scythia is awesome. The worker placement is awesome. The rating is awesome. The economy with all the various resources and the slow upgrading of the meeples is fantastic. The variability, the replayability. I love this game. This game is absolutely great. 8.5 stars out of 10. Really fantastic game.
9 stars.
I knew you were going to be just a little bit higher. So what goes into your 9-star rating? Because obviously this game speaks to you.
Just I really enjoy playing it.
Okay.
That's mainly goes into my rating.
Okay. So it's just fun.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't seem like time just flies by when we're playing it.
It really does. You don't notice that it's been an hour, and then you're like, oh wow, has it already been a whole hour?
Or I mean, like other games, like only 20 minutes has passed.
It depends on the game. Yeah. But Raiders of Scythia is great. So this is a 2 thumbs way up review from us. 8.5 stars and 9 stars respectively from the two of us. We can highly recommend this game to you if anything we talked about sounds interesting or fun. Check out Raiders of Scythia. This game is really great. Yeah, I don't know if I have anything else I can say except that I'm really enjoying this one. So there you have it. If you enjoyed this video, and if you have any questions about either the game Raiders of Scythia or this video, feel free to put them in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see us do more review and tutorials like this, be sure to give this video a like. Share it on all forms of social media. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Board Game Captain. That's Captain spelled with a K on YouTube. And until next time, game on.